You ever stop and think about how the sunlight warming your face right now actually becomes the energy that's powering your body? Well, today, we're going to follow that incredible journey. We're going from a star 93 million miles away all the way down into the tiny cells that make up, well, all life on Earth.
So let's just get right into it. This is our big question. How does a simple leaf, something you see every single day, pull off this incredible magic trick of turning pure sunlight into the very stuff of life? It's an amazing story, so let's break it down.
All right, so our story, like pretty much every story about life on this planet, has to start with the sun. It's all about grabbing that raw, powerful energy. We kick things off with these organisms called autotrophs, or you can just call them producers. And you're looking at a perfect example, this tree. See, it doesn't need to eat like we do. It literally makes its own food using light as the key ingredient. This process is the foundation for almost every single food chain out there. But, a whole tree is a lot to take in. The real action, the true engineering marvel, is happening on a much smaller scale. So let's zoom right into a single leaf. Think of it as a perfectly designed, totally biological solar panel. And if you thought a leaf was just some simple, flat green thing, think again. This cross-section shows it's basically a bustling factory. Right up top, you've got this tightly packed palisade layer just soaking up as much sun as possible. And right below it, you have the spongy mesophyll layer with all those air pockets perfect for letting gases move around. Let's go even deeper. Inside those cells, we find the real heart of the operation, the chloroplast. This tiny green organelle, this is the engine. It's the exact spot where light energy gets converted into chemical energy. This is ground zero for us. Okay, so we've made it to the factory floor. Now let's check out how the assembly line actually works, how it turns light, water, and air into sugar. But hang on, before we get into all the chemistry, let's answer a simple question. We all know plants are green, right? But why? The answer is actually the key to understanding how they capture energy in the first place. Okay, so what's so cool about this is that it shows us what plants don't use. Sunlight has a whole spectrum of colors, right? Well, the pigment inside those chloroplasts, chlorophyll, is fantastic at absorbing energy from the blue and red parts of that spectrum. But it's really bad at absorbing green light. So what does it do with it? It reflects it. Bounces it right back into our eyes, so the green that we see is actually the color of rejected sunlight. Kind of wild, huh? The whole process is basically a two-act play. This diagram lays it out perfectly. Act 1 is the light-dependent reactions. That's where the sunlight gets captured. Act 2 is the Kelvin cycle. That's where the captured energy gets used to actually build the sugar. So let's look at Act 1. Inside these little stacked discs called thylakoids, light hits the chlorophyll and kicks off a chain reaction. Water molecules get split apart, and by the way, that's where all the oxygen we breathe comes from, and all that energy gets used to charge up these two special molecules, ATP and NADPH. The best way to think of them is as tiny, rechargeable batteries, just packed with energy for the next step. And now, Act 2, the Kelvin cycle. So those fully charged batteries, ATP and NADPH, they jump into this cycle and release all their energy. They power this chemical factory that grabs carbon atoms from carbon dioxide in the air and starts linking them together. And what comes out at the end? A stable, energy-packed sugar, glucose. The food has officially been made. So making sugar is awesome, but it's just stored energy. Now we gotta ask, how does a cell actually spend that energy to get work done? It's kind of like moving money from your savings account into cash you can actually use. And here's where it gets interesting. Glucose is an incredible energy storage molecule. I mean, it holds over 90 times the energy of one of those little ATP batteries we just talked about. But it's too big. It's too powerful for a cell to use for most jobs. It's like having a $1,000 bill. It's worth a lot, but good luck trying to buy a soda from a vending machine with it. The cell needs smaller change. So what's the exchange rate on that? Well, by carefully breaking down just one molecule of glucose, a cell can generate up to 36 of those small, spendable energy coins. That's 36 ATP molecules. That is a fantastic energy payoff. And the process of making that change, of cashing in that big glucose bill, is called cellular respiration. Now, the key phrase here is small steps. If the cell released all that energy at once, it would be like a tiny explosion. Most of it would just be lost as heat and light. So it does it bit by bit. And of course, this energy conversion has its own special factory. So if the chloroplast is the solar farm that makes the fuel, then the mitochondrion, with all those cool folds inside, is the power plant. It takes that raw fuel, glucose, and converts it into the usable electricity of ATP that powers literally everything the cell does. Okay, let's zoom back out for a second from the tiny organelles to the whole leaf, because making all this food actually creates a really big and kind of dangerous problem for the plant. Just think about it for a second. To get the carbon dioxide it needs from the air, a plant has to have openings. But the inside of a leaf is super moist and the outside air is usually pretty dry. So how does it breathe in the CO2 it needs without breathing out all of its water and basically drying up? The solution is just brilliant. Look at these two images. The leaf's surface is covered in these tiny adjustable mouths called stomata. When they're open, you can see the two guard cells are all swollen with water, which creates a little pore to let CO2 in. But when the plant starts to run low on water, like in the closed picture, those cells go limp and seal the opening shut. It's this constant, delicate balancing act. And get this, the process of water evaporating from the leaves, which is called transpiration, actually creates a really powerful physical force. As each molecule of water leaves, it kind of tugs on the one behind it, creating this continuous chain of suction. This transpirational pull is so strong, it can draw water all the way from the roots deep in the ground, up the stem, to the very highest leaves. And there's no pump required, it's just physics. So let's put this all together now. We've seen how energy is captured, and we've seen how it's spent. Let's zoom all the way out and look at the beautiful big picture. And this right here just shows the perfect harmony of life. Look at the cycle. Photosynthesis in the chloroplast uses sunlight, water, and CO2 to make sugar and oxygen. Then cellular respiration in the mitochondrion uses that exact same sugar and oxygen to make usable energy, water, and CO2. The output of one process is the input for the other. It's a closed-loop system. It's sustainable. It's beautiful. So I want to leave you with this final thought. The oxygen that you just breathed in, that literally just filled your lungs, was released by a plant when it split a water molecule. The chemical energy that's fueling your brain right now, letting you think about all this, was built from carbon dioxide pulled out of the air and locked into a sugar molecule. Every bit of it was originally powered by the sun. So what does that make you? Kind of makes you solar-powered, doesn't it?